We're taking our fusion grenade and going from this measly damage on this champion to being able to one-shot champions. So I'm just gonna say it, I think this might be the best build this season for that endgame content, and here's why. We are currently 25 power level under here in the gameplay, and we can one-shot champions with our fusion grenades. Let that sink in for a second. 25 power level under here, and it doesn't even matter. But what's even better with this build is that we can have the restoration ×2 buff up all the time. So we're healing for that 50 HP per second to give us amazing survivability, and at the same time we are able to literally one-shot champions with our fusion grenades. And we get these back in seconds thanks to our entire build and setup and how it all works together. I was racking my brain if there has been a build in the past that provides this kind of burst damage, enough to one-shot champions, 25 power level under, while having some of the best survivability in Destiny 2. I have done so many builds that I just can't remember, so if you guys can, then let me know down in the comments because I would love to see them and compare the two. Just to show off how strong this build is, let's take a look at what you can get when you run this. It has infinite strong fusion grenades that one-shot champions 25 power level under. We can proc the restoration ×2, which makes us near unkillable, and we do this very easily now just by consuming our grenade, phoenix diving to the ground, and then just shooting a single enemy with a strong solar weapon. We provide the radiant buff to ourselves and our fire team for a 25% weapon damage bonus on all our weapons, and we have this up all the time right alongside our restoration ×2. We also bring a well of radiance with us for that team play and difficult content, which is always a bonus. You know, everyone loves a well, it's just all us solar warlocks hate running it now. We get a ton of melee abilities as well for that extra damage and ignitions, and then we combine our fusion grenade and melee ability to ignite anything for even more damage with our ignitions overall. So hopefully you guys can see the power and potential that this build has, and give it a try yourself because it's a very satisfying thing just to wipe a champion away with one single throw of your grenade. Now the star of the show is our fusion grenade. It only has a minute and 13-second cooldown, and with 100 discipline that gets cut down to 36 seconds. So it does amazing damage for a grenade, and we get it back quickly. We combine this with our touch of flame aspect to make our fusion grenade explode twice. This just essentially doubles the damage that we can do with our fusion grenade. And just to show you, our fusion grenade starts out at base doing around 20k damage. So it doesn't even take a quarter of a champion's health. And when you get this entire build working correctly, we one-shot those champions with those grenades. For our second aspect, we're going to take heat rises. This allows us to consume our grenade before we begin a fight and proc the heat rises buff. It's important that you do this just like you see me do it in the gameplay because it's how we proc restoration ×2. For your class ability, you take Phoenix Dive. After we consume our grenade, we then dive to the ground using our class ability to gain restoration ×2 for 5 seconds. Then you just shoot the nearest red bar enemy you see to extend that time thanks to the fragment Ember of Empyrean. This is how we gain restoration ×2, and you just do this small loop when you enter a new room of enemies or if you lose your restoration ×2 buff. We also take the Ember of Solace fragment because that makes restoration ×2 last 5 seconds when you come out of your Phoenix Dive instead of only 3 seconds. It just gives you a little bit more room to work with in getting that single kill you need. And ease of use is always a bonus with any build. For the last two fragments, we take Ember of Torches. This gives us that radiant buff for 25% weapon damage on all our weapons, and we get this just by hitting an enemy with our powered melee. Ember of Empyrean also extends this for us just like restoration ×2, so this is a great pick to have restoration ×2 and radiant up all the time. The last fragment is Ember of Searing, so we can create fire sprites and get extra melee energy for defeating scorched targets. This just adds to our ability energy because we get melee energy from this, and we want to grab a fire sprite every 4 or 5 seconds to give us that extra grenade energy back when we pick them up. For your weapons on the build, solar weapons are great in your secondary and your heavy because of course that extends restoration and radiant. Sunshot got its nice hand cannon buff this season, and it feels really good even 25 power level under against red bar enemies. This means you can easily kill them to keep up your timers with those two buffs. Of course, any other solar weapons work great. I was using Tommy's Matchbook and Vex Mytho class with this build, and they both felt really good as well. For your exotic of choice, this is Verity's Brow. It has the armor perk, the 4th Magic. Weapon final blows that match our subclass energy type grant us death throws, which provides a grenade damage bonus and grants you grenade energy. This grenade damage bonus is a 20% damage bonus per stack, stacking up to 5 times. So this makes our grenade hit 100% harder. And then the grenade energy we get back is 50% grenade energy per stack. So an extra 250% grenade energy with 5 stacks. Also, another benefit with this is when you do have death throws and throw a grenade, nearby allies gain greatly increased grenade regeneration for a short time. This is called the Feel the Flames buff that other allies will see on their screen. and it actually grants them a 10 times grenade recharge rate. So they even get more of a benefit for the grenade recharge rate than we do. So Verity's Brow adds that extra damage to that fusion grenade, and so does Touch of Flame, because Touch of Flame makes our fusion grenade explode twice. But the other two things we're going to pair with this is two artifact mods. The first one is Elemental Fury. While stunned, champions take bonus damage from your abilities and elemental orb damage. So as soon as you stun a champion, they're going to take 35% more damage from that fusion grenade. And what we're going to stack on top of that is Monochromatic Maestro. Dealing elemental ability damage increases matching weapon damage, and elemental weapon damage increases matching ability damage. Bonus granted is 10% for 5 seconds. This stacks on top of our Elemental Fury. So the best way I can show you guys how to do this is when you have both these mods equipped, all you need to do is stun a champion with a matching weapon. That's it. So for our hand cannon, it's Overload, right? So as soon as I stun that champion with my Overload Sunshot hand cannon, I've now activated both of those mods from the artifact for a 45% buff to the grenade. That alone is a pretty big deal with Touch of Flame exploding twice fusion grenades. Then on top of that, you add the Verity's Brow buff to get even more damage on that. That's the overall damage coming from one grenade or one ability. So you can apply this to other builds too. Stuff that hits really hard in the game is going to do this. I have a Void Titan build coming out next, which shows our shoulder charge one-shotting every single champion as well. For the mods on the build, we're taking everything to get that grenade back. So on our helmet, we're going to take Harmonic Siphon to generate orbs of power from those solar weapon kills. We're also going to take Ashes to Assets to get extra super energy on grenade kills. And then our third mod is whatever you want. I had Heavy Ammo Finder. This can be another Ashes to Assets or another Harmonic Siphon to generate bigger orbs of power. On the gauntlets, we're going to take Grenade Kickstart to feed our grenade when we use those armor charges. And then we're going to take Impact Induction, causing damage with a melee attack, reduces your grenade cooldown. And then also we're going to take Bolstering Detonation, grants class ability energy when you cause damage with a grenade. Since we're throwing so many grenades, we're going to feed our class ability to make sure we have Phoenix Dive available for us. On your chest piece, it's damage reduction and then charged up, increase the number of stacks of armor charge you can carry by 1. And then on your boots, you're going to take stacks on stacks. So every orb of power we pick up grants us 2 armor charges. We're also going to take Insulation and Innervation. So when we pick up an orb of power, we're feeding our grenade ability and our class ability, our fusion grenade and our Phoenix Dive, both of which are important for the overall build. And then in our class item, we're going to take Reaper. So after we Phoenix Dive, we can spawn an orb of power with that next weapon kill. We're going to take Bomber, and we're going to take Outreach. So Bomber is to feed that grenade ability after we Phoenix Dive, and Outreach to feed our melee ability after we Phoenix Dive. For your overall stats on the build, 100 Resilience for the damage reduction, 100 Discipline to just feed our grenade energy as much as possible, and then as much recovery as possible to feed Phoenix Dive. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.